One.
Welcome back. This is ECA on the mic, episode 4. We're excited to have you all back listening on all your respective platforms. Um, we got a exciting episode today. We have a special guest coming on in a little bit here. Um, but just to give you guys a little rundown of the episode, we're gonna go through a few topics and then invite our guest on here in a little bit. So yeah, so the first thing I want to just shout out real quick is Boardwalk, the Super Smash Brothers MSU Club tournament coming up in just 2 weeks, February 17th here, which is very exciting. I'm very excited about that. They've got, I believe, also Pokemon Club, Pokemon TCG is going to be there featured, running an event as well as I believe. Oh, there's another club.
Smash
There's
Melee
a
and
Melee.
no,
Yeah, Melee.
Splatoon's not going. But
Splatoon's
Melee
not
will be
going.
there and Ultimate.
Yep. Melee, Ultimate, and Pokemon. So it's gonna be a very exciting time. Make sure you register for that through start.gg, I believe, MSU Boardwalk. But
There's an
yeah, very
entry fee.
exciting with entry fee, yep, of course. They got all the details on the page there for you guys to see. And then after that, we got
The ECA LAN in the
yeah.
works. I
Mm-hmm.
would call it being planned. That'll be coming up around April, so keep your eye out for announcements about that.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be exciting. We'll have as many clubs as we can fit in Com Arts there.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be a full day, 12 hours, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. of fun. So definitely
Yeah.
look out for the 24 Spring LAN.
Yeah, we're definitely looking to make that the best land yet. A
Oh
lot
yeah.
of hands on deck to try and make sure that that's going to be, the best event possible. That's improving every semester that we do it. So very excited. Keep your eyes out for that one. And then next is the MSU Rainbow Six Siege competitive teams. I believe it's MSU Green Team that is competing this week, actually. But by the time this episode comes out, the competition will already happened. But they're playing U of M this
Okay.
Thursday. So that should be exciting. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, they were successful. Still going on in bracket. So yeah, make sure you catch them and just the whole competition in general. It's the Midwest Rainbow Six Siege competition, collegiate competition. A whole bunch of Midwest colleges competing there. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Make sure you're supporting your Spartans. And then next we have
Lastly,
Alien
uh,
World.
the reminder notification that
Hmm.
the Arts Alienware Gaming Lounge is open for reservations. Now,
Hmm.
disclaimer, that's not run by ECA. We have no control over that or anything. You're not going to come to us if you want to go in it. You do have to like reserve some time in there right now, but as a student, but otherwise, you can. There is a specific Discord server for it, so you're not going to do that in the ECA Discord. You can actually find in our announcements channel, under org announcements, the invite link to the MSU Sports Discord server, and that's where you're going to be able to find more information about the lounge, as well as I believe reserve time in there to go hang out and play. So for sure, check that out.
Hmm. Yep. And then yeah, so those are all the announcements we have so far. Um Next, I will try and get our special guest on in here in just a second.
Right?
Um yeah, small pause. Okay. Uh, Yo, we're back and we have a special guest, RayboyP of MSU RTS Club. Welcome, welcome. How you
Hi,
doing, bro?
thank you. I'm doing pretty good.
Nice.
Uh, it's a
Here.
little late at night to have this, but that's all right.
Yeah,
So,
or apologies, but college schedules, what can you do?
yeah.
But yeah, so just kind of explain to us yeah, what is RTS Club? Kind of how long have you guys been around? What do you guys do? That type of thing.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, just to introduce myself again, my name's Preston, and then I go by the tag RayboyP, and I'm the president of the RTS Club here at Michigan State.
Hmm.
Which, just to get out there, RTS stands for Real Time Strategy Game.
Yep.
Um, So, generally, when we're talking about that, the big ones we usually refer to are Age of Empires
Mm,
and StarCraft. So
okay.
a lot of people honestly played Age of Empires when it was popular, like 10 years ago ish. But it's still pretty relevant today. And then StarCraft is definitely like the big RTS game that is still popular today. Um, but then in addition, we also branch out a bit. We play Paradox interactive games.
Okay.
So that includes things like Europa Universalis 4, Hearts of Iron 4 is a big one. So these are like historical um, real-time strategy games
Mm,
where, you know, generally, you usually a lot of people play them in single player, but in multiplayer, you kind of just leave the timer on constantly, which kind of makes it like a real time strategy game. Whereas if you're playing by yourself, you can just pause whenever you want. But once you play with multiple people, you kind of just have to leave it running. So it kind of fits into the real time strategy game club
mm,
theme. So we include it, and those are also really popular with us too.
okay. Cool.
Which is your favorite?
So I think my favorite competitive one has to be StarCraft 2. I really like watching the pros play that, and then also playing it myself is a lot of fun. But my favorite overall game is probably Europa Universalis 4. It's like a Renaissance and colonial era history paradox game. So um, that's the one probably like my favorite overall.
Okay. Cool. And then, so as far as the club is concerned, how long has RTS Club been a thing at MSU?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure about the history of the club,
Okay.
honestly. It was here when I started 4 years ago.
Okay.
I know that at least.
Hmm.
But I didn't get involved with it too much until my second year. I started going to some of the meetings, and then third year I was the vice president, and now
Hmm.
for this year I've been the president. Um,
Cool.
so yeah, definitely like I don't know much about the history pre-COVID or anything,
Oh,
but I do know it's been around for a while. And I've just got
mm.
handed to me at this point. So
Okay. Cool. Nice. Um, how often do you guys meet, or is it more of like a over Discord online thing, or is it in person? What is that like?
yeah, so we usually meet once a week on Thursdays.
Okay.
Um, we meet at the MSU Library Digital Multimedia Center. It's a pretty nice place.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of it until like this year when I was really trying to look for a room to have our meetings in and discovered it, or someone told me about it. So
Hmm.
it's a nice area. You know, it just has a bunch of computers with games on them,
Hmm.
which is basically all we need. So we have our weekly meetings Thursdays from 6 to 9 p.m. there. And generally, right, we most people come in person, but we also try and keep it as open to being hybrid as possible. So some people are able to join online and join in on the games as well. Um, so we try and
Okay.
keep that open as well.
Not a lot of clubs can do that where they hybrids. That's
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. Um, if you're playing like a game like StarCraft or Age of Empires, um, usually those games are so like APM and like focus intensive that you're generally not like talking for most of them. Like if you're on a team with someone, then you might like try and communicate, like coordinate with them. But especially if you're going against someone or whatever, you're not going to be talking very much. But in the Paradox interactive games, they're very heavily role play um, focused because you're like kind of playing as a country and role playing what they would do. So those ones, it's like you're going to be talking with a lot of people, negotiating, doing diplomacy, because in that game, it's like it's not about beating the other person necessarily. You got to negotiate them and try and like organize borders and stuff like that. So there, it's like communication is a lot more key for that. But we found a pretty good method. We all just join in on the Discord chat, and anyone who's online can like communicate. through one speaker with everyone who's in person, and they can like kind of still hear everyone who's there in person. Um,
Mm,
so
nice. Um, is there any, I guess, competitions or like events on the horizon that you would like to shout out, or just anything going on with the club that people should look out for, you think?
yeah, so we'll definitely be at the LAN.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to be doing there, but I think it's going to be a bit. I mean, it really depends on if they're willing to do it. But I think this time we're going to be trying to do like a bit more like semi-competitive at least. Something that not necessarily a tournament, but something that like really brings in people who play the game
Mm-hmm.
at like a high level, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's one of the things. Like a lot of people who play this game, there's um, you know, I feel like it's this way with a lot of games as well. But it's just like when there's a skill gap between people, it's just like hard for them to play.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like uh, kind of trying to like get people who are good at it to join, but also having some way to like kind of make it fun for other people to
Mm-hmm.
play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so we have that, but also kind of our big event is every semester we actually do a StarCraft 2 match versus the University of Michigan.
Okay.
So what that entails is we select uh, a range of players. Last semester, I think it was 4 players,
Mm-hmm.
and then we basically have them go against each other in like 1v1s in StarCraft 2.
Okay.
So that's kind of like our big, biggest event that we run.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I'm still trying to plan it out for this semester because mainly the big thing is getting a room. But right now, we're looking at March 16th for that date.
Okay.
So that'll be fun because we're gonna have like people come over from the University of Michigan and meet
Mm-hmm.
up so we can play in person
Yeah,
and
for
stuff.
sure.
So mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds cool. Is there I don't know, maybe it's too early, but potential for like that to be streamed anywhere or for people
Yes.
to possibly? Yeah, okay.
So as long as everything goes good, it's going to be streamed by Winter Gaming, which he's a pretty popular StarCraft 2 streamer. So I'm not sure exactly. I think he used to like live in Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
and he's attended some of the events in the past too.
Okay.
So as long as the date and everything works with him, we're planning on coordinating with him to have him stream it. So
Mm-hmm.
like last semester we kind of screwed up and like planned everything a bit late, so we couldn't get him. But like the semesters before this, we've had that, and then we've had like hundreds of concurrent viewers on Twitch.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Being
Yeah, that
able to
sounds
like
yeah, it's
reach
definitely
out and engage
mm-hmm.
mhm,
your community.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Um, I thought it was interesting you mentioned earlier just about like how to kind of incorporate that kind of competitive aspect with also kind of like a more like inviting atmosphere. That's definitely something that uh at least in a lot of the mainstream esports can be hard to get into. There's always like
yeah,
seems to be like a skill gap for most games. So yeah, definitely trying to think of ways in the future that we can like better cross that
hmm
that gap. It's
yeah. I mean,
definitely hmm,
yeah, what one thing with like RTS games is a lot of times you can have teams.
hmm,
Like when we have a lot of people there, it's like we could like group off and do 1v1s or whatever, but that's generally right. We could do that whenever. So a lot of times we do like team based things, and then it's like you can kind of balance it out by having the skill levels of the players balance out.
hmm,
Um, so that's a lot of times what we'll do is either try and make teams, or we'll just like go as a team and group up and then queue onto like unranked. Um,
hmm.
so
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It definitely is like to bridge the gap between uh
hmm
newer player and veteran player.
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, keep like that like learning circle so people a learning environment makes sense. Um, well, I'm on all out of questions. Unless Mason, you have any more, but
I have never played StarCraft. I wanted to I've seen like picture videos, but I
hmm
really don't fully know how it works, and so for like those listening so don't, Kind of like what
Mhm.
is the basic game?
Yeah. So honestly, like RTS games, um, they're kind of like base builders games where generally the gameplay breaks down into two things, which are called macroing and microing. So macroing is basically like managing your economy and building buildings and building your units, and basically, it's like creating the army that you're going to fight with.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is microing, which is controlling that army to try and fight your opponent and do that. So the general gameplay loop is you start out the game and you try and build up your economy, you try and build up a lot of strong units, get like upgrades for them so they fight better, and then eventually go and fight your opponent. Um, kind of at the low level, honestly, a lot of the times it divulges into both players build up one big army, fight, and whoever wins that one battle wins. But as you get higher level and everything, people start splitting up their army, and attacking in like smaller groups during like hit and run strategies, like harassing, like taking their attention away from other areas. Um, but yeah, in general, it's like, build up a big army and go and fight the other person with it.
That's really
So that's kind of what StarCraft is.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think like real time strategy games, they combine um like two of my favorite things about games. So like I'm a big just in general strategy gamer.
Mhm.
So obviously real time strategy games are strategy because you have to like plan out what units you're going to build, and how greedy you're going to get into building your economy and how to counter your opponent. But I like other strategy games. Like there's a lot of turn based strategy games like Civilization, um,
Mhm.
or like other base building games. Like I've been recently been playing a lot of Factorio, is a fun one. So I'm definitely like a huge strategy game fan. Like having to think about what I'm doing and plan out, and everything. But the other thing is like it's it's a game that really requires 100% focus and attentiveness, and can like reward like good good ability, like finesse.
Mhm.
Like the better you can, like the quicker you can move around and the better you can control your units, it rewards that. So those are like two of my favorite aspects of the game. Um, the other game I play a lot actually is Super Smash Brothers Melee.
Mhm.
Um, so you can see like a game like that, it's very intensive. Like um, I don't know, like control wise, you have to be able to,
Mhm.
move your fingers exactly how you
Yeah.
need to, and that's something in RTS games that is very important as well. Like the
Mhm.
pros get up to like 500 actions per minute in what they're doing. Um,
Mhm.
that's crazy.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, they're hitting. I mean, you think about that. That's for like really short bursts, but that's like
Mhm.
you know almost, if you at 600 APM, that's like 10 actions per minute, or per second, I mean.
You're right. Yeah.
Um, so it's like, I mean, but that's like, you're clicking, you're pressing like 5 different hotkeys and using spells and stuff.
A lot
So
of knowledge, just game knowledge.
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
Thousand.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, that brings up another question. What would you say is probably like for someone that's new to like kind of real time strategy games? What would you say is like probably like the first like kind of barrier to entry? Um, and then how would someone like traverse that? I think.
Yeah. So definitely like the first barrier to entry is just, um, I would say usually having like a game plan
Mm.
going into the match. So it's like you kind of need to know in general what you're gonna do and then be able to
Mhm.
adapt it a bit better. But if you don't have like that baseline, um so like I think in general, right, like I'm not amazing at these games, but I'm honestly pretty decent at like a wide variety of them because I have a good like general bait like game plan going in,
Mhm.
where it's generally right. Like you try and get a really good economy, and you try and like build as many units as possible, right? Like
Mhm.
what one big thing like new players do a lot of times is they'll float their resources. So you're like gathering, you get a good economy and you start getting a lot of like money and
Mhm.
resources in. But if you're not spending that, then it's just sitting there and doing nothing for you. So like
Mm,
one of the things I try and focus on is like always try and spend the money as it comes in.
mm,
Um, and that like holds really well into like different games. Like in StarCraft, that's a really big thing, and like Age of Empires, that's a really big thing. And even in like Paradox Interactive games, it's like if you're just like keep your money around, it's like you need to spend it in order to start making more money. Um,
mhm,
so I would say, just having a like a general game plan
mhm,
of what you're gonna do. But obviously, like with these games, it's just like you're gonna get destroyed by someone who's better than you.
mhm,
And there's nothing you can do about it um, until you start leveling up and everything. So
mhm.
It's
Yeah,
definitely
mhm.
the learning curve. The beginning learning curve is really pretty steep. Sounds pretty steep for like StarCraft at least. But
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing about like um, StarCraft does really good is it has like a campaign. That's like one of the things that like really helps make like some RTSs really popular and others not is like there's like single player campaigns that are like popular to play as.
mhm.
So even honestly, like if you can beat the campaign on like the hardest difficulty, it's like you'll be better than on like 50% of people who play the game. Um,
they have a way like get you into the game. You know,
mhm,
teach you the ropes before you're out there playing.
yeah.
Mhm,
And I mean, there's like always the like when you play ranked mode and then eventually you get put into whatever your like skill level is.
Yeah,
Um,
mhm.
so
Okay. Cool. Well, um, yeah, if there's anything else you want to shout out,
I have.
um, feel free. Oh, another
Would
question?
I
you say balloons tower defense?
Bloons Tower Defense.
When you're, I would
So
say more specific. Like I think base playing the game maybe less playing against other players or even they have the
it's like
boss balloon stuff. If you're
Bloons
familiar,
Tower Defense battles. Yes, I'm a balloons connoisseur.
we love balloons.
Yeah,
Yes.
fun
Um,
game. A lot of
I mean,
memories.
definitely. Um, I wouldn't call. I mean, like it's a tower defense game. I would call it a strategy game. And I would even call like Bloons Tower Defense Battles 2 a real time strategy game, maybe. But I wouldn't call just the base game a real time strategy game.
Weird
Um,
gray area with the boss balloon where they have competition to get like the quickest time.
Hmm.
Or maybe it's I don't remember what the leaderboard marker is, but
mhm,
where you can group up and do it as a team. It's like I would do it with me and three other friends. We would try to be like
yeah.
min maxing our like board basically,
Mhm,
like all farming and then all selling to one person to get like one or stuff like
yeah.
that. Would
Hmm.
that be?
I mean, you can always pause in that.
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
So, um,
that's fair.
That ruins it.
yeah, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That definitely like it's definitely like real time is the
Real
blurry
time
part
asterisk.
there.
Hmm.
Where it's like, yeah, I mean, like the Paradox Interactive games, like you can technically pause them, um, but we don't like once you're playing in multiplayer, you don't do that. So,
Did
um,
not. I totally forgot about the. That definitely removes the real time.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess that just effectively kills the real
hmm And
time.
that's the thing where like when you're playing these games, a lot of times you do not have time to kind of like sit back and like think things through. You have to like react in real time,
Yeah,
um, and it's like respond to what they're doing.
Hmm.
you
Um,
don't have time to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, and the thing too, like one thing I would say that's definitely different, like a big difference from something like Balloons versus RTS game, is if you play the same map in like Balloons a million times, it'll be the exact same every single time. So there's no real adapting to what you're doing there. Whereas when you're playing this RTS game, you're playing against someone else and you have to respond to what they're doing. Um,
Hmm.
so it's like that real time adaptation and everything.
Hmm.
In game Minecraft, is there like say like environmental? RNG where it's like um kind of like maybe is there something like weather or like resource like nodes kind of thing where it's like, oh, I got lucky, like I got a some close one, or is it like
So
purely
in StarCraft, there is like no RNG at all. Um, Now maybe there's like some tiny things, but in general, there's nothing. One game that there's a lot of RNG in actually is Age of Empires. Um, and that comes from that the maps in Age of Empires are actually randomly generated um, each
Mm,
time you play. So they're generally set up to be like really balanced, to try and like have everything balanced, but they are like, um, random and sometimes can screw over one person definitely more than the other. But in like StarCraft, it's like the map is the exact same. Um, like there's different maps, but like each map will always be the same when you
mhm,
play on it.
assuming it's symmetrical then?
Yeah,
mhm,
yeah. So, like one cool thing about that is like StarCraft is like a really old game. I think it's like over 10 years old now. Well,
mhm,
StarCraft 2 specifically. StarCraft is even older. It came out like before I was born. Um, so, but like StarCraft 2 uh, is quite old, but they have like community built maps
That's
are
really
very popular there.
mhm. Okay.
So,
Would you consider Clash Royale, the mobile game, to be a real-time strategy?
yeah, I would consider Clash Royale to
Yeah.
be a real time strategy.
Okay. I was
Um,
wondering.
an
Yeah.
important question.
Yeah, it's
You
very
play
important.
Clash Royale?
no,
No.
I do
No?
not play Clash
Okay.
Royale. I'm not a mobile gamer.
I
I'll admit it.
been like logged on.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, I was just wondering. Um, yeah, cool. If you have anything else you want to shout out about your club, go ahead. Um, Disrupt, you said you meet up every Thursday at what
Mhm.
time again?
6 to 9 p.m.
To
One
9
club
p.m. at the MSU library, right?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
or
Fun
digital
club?
media.
Digital
Yeah.
media. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I
All
guess
right.
yeah, shout outs to all the other members of the club.
Mm.
Um and uh hopefully we'll find some more e-board members. Uh, that's one thing we're struggling with right now. So,
You
Okay.
always
um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely if you're interested in real-time strategy games, look into the club, see if
yeah.
there's maybe a e-board role you could fill.
Mhm.
Definitely be
start
hype
the
about
Clash
that.
Royale section.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Confirm.
Yeah. Yeah, we have our own Discord. I don't
Mhm.
know if I could like include that in the description of the video. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but that's generally where we do most of our communication and everything. So,
Hmm.
You can
Cool.
also
Yeah.
find it in the club directory.
mhm.
Hmm.
Not there for
Yeah. Yeah. It should be MSU RTS Club. Yep. All right. Well, thank you for joining the podcast. Yeah. Welcome again anytime. Um, yep.
any
All
new
right, guys.
game
Cool.
So
comes.
You guys for having me.
yeah. So yeah, well, thank you to the listeners for listening and the YouTube viewers for watching. We'll have this episode out hopefully by next week. Trying to get a schedule of getting them out like around Tuesdays. I think we're gonna try and settle on
Mhm.
3 Tuesdays having them out. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
See ya. Alrighty.